Final script. Fran versus the system. Your idea just got stolen in a meeting. You sat there, mouth open, as someone else repeated your point and got the credit. You think this is about credit or unfairness. It isn't. It's about who controls the narrative. And you just handed them the pen. That moment isn't a glitch. It is the system. The person who frames the outcome owns the outcome 3 times more than the person who produced it. You delivered data. They delivered a story. Leadership remembered the story. There's a name for this gap between doing the work and controlling how that work is seen. The narrative gap. And by the end of this, you'll know the 3 hidden patterns that determine who gets credit and how to hijack the narrative yourself. There's a person in your office who remembers your birthday. They offer help before you ask. They share credit. It feels like generosity. It isn't. This is the favor ledger, a system of invisible IOUs where every kindness is a deposit, and every deposit gets called in later. A vote during a reorg. Silence when someone questions their work. Your name slipped into their proposal. You won't see the ledger. You'll just feel vaguely obligated and wonder why you keep saying yes. This pattern is so quiet your brain actively filters it out. Psychologists call it the halo effect. Once you like someone, you automatically generate excuses for their behavior. You see something off. Your mind supplies a reasonable explanation faster than your attention can flag it. The favor ledger thrives on that blind spot. Here's where it gets interesting. Multiple people in your office sense something is wrong. No one speaks. Everyone looks around. Nobody else reacts. So everyone concludes they must be imagining it. That's pluralistic ignorance, a self-reinforcing silence. It makes the pattern invisible to everyone inside it. But there's a second pattern running alongside it, one that's even harder to catch. You rarely see this person in the middle of a crisis. They don't lead messy projects. They don't stand anywhere failure could stick. Instead, they show up after to frame what happened. They write the recap email. They give the hallway summary to the senior director. They become the voice in the skip-level meeting that says, "Here's what actually went on." This is the narrative hijack. The person who controls the post-event story has more influence than the person who actually solved the problem. You solve a production issue at 2 a.m. The next morning, the hijacker sends an update to leadership. After a challenging night, the team pulled together and resolved the outage. Your name never appears. They don't need to do the work. They need to be the voice that describes the work. And if you try to push back, you hit DARVO, deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. Suddenly, the conversation isn't about what they did. It's about why you are creating conflict. They don't need to win the argument. They just need you to stop having it. The next part is what most people never figure out. There's a third pattern that reveals the deepest truth of all. Watch what someone does when the room's power dynamics shift. Their behavior changes depending on who's present. In meetings with senior leadership, engaged, sharp, solutions-oriented. In working sessions with no authority, passive, dismissive, quietly territorial. The inconsistency is the tell. You think it's about them. It isn't. It's about the system. This is the signal chaser, a person who allocates their effort based on who can advance them. They only ask for your input when a director is on the call. In one-on-ones, they cut you off or redirect. They are a signal detector. They know exactly who matters. And you just learned which category you occupy. But the signal chaser isn't just a person. It's a symptom of an organizational system that rewards visibility over value. The visibility gap, the distance between the work you do and the work decision makers see. That gap is where your career gets decided. So what do you do when the system itself is built to bypass you, not take control, not believe in yourself? You do 3 specific things. First, own your narrative in real time. Don't present an idea and go quiet. Send the recap email yourself. That afternoon, subject line. Following up on the retention strategy, one outline today. 3 sentences. Timestamped. Your name on the idea before anyone else can reshape it. Close the narrative gap from your side. Second, widen your visibility beyond your manager. The favor ledger, the narrative hijack, and the signal chaser all depend on operating in spaces where you aren't present. Build real relationships across the organization. Be known by people outside your immediate team. A wide network is your insurance against one person controlling your reputation. Third, watch for the pattern, not the moment. One incident can be explained away. 3 incidents with the same person moving in the same direction is not a coincidence. Trust the pattern. Protect your information. Warmth is not the same as safety. Remember the person whose idea got stolen in that meeting? Let's call them Kevin. He eventually figured it out. Started documenting ideas before presenting. Built relationships with both directors directly. Sent his own recaps. Stopped venting to the person who took his idea. 6 months later, when a senior role opened up, both directors already knew his name. Not from someone else's version of his work. From him. Same ability. Completely different outcome. Office politics isn't going away. It isn't a flaw in the system. In most companies, it is the system. The only question is whether you're going to understand it or keep being surprised by it. They don't want you to fail loudly. They want you to shrink quietly. And the only way to stop that is to stop playing by rules that were never actually written down. Now, you know what the rules actually are. The system isn't broken. It's designed. And you just saw the design. Here's a signal most people miss entirely. Watch how fast people respond to you versus others. The speed of reply is a power map. If someone responds to your manager's emails in minutes and yours take hours or days, they are not busy. They are ranking. The same person who leaves you on read will reply to your VP in 30 seconds flat. That's not workload. That's a priority list. Now look at meeting dynamics. Who gets interrupted? Who gets talked over? Who gets asked to repeat themselves? Those patterns are not about sound quality or bad audio. They are about perceived status. The person who gets interrupted 5 times in a single meeting is being told, without a single direct word, what you have to say is optional. This is one of the quietest forms of office politics because it hides inside normal behavior. Everyone is busy. Everyone has inbox overload. But when you start mapping response times and interruptions against hierarchy, you will see the structure underneath. Now take it one step further. Here is the hidden cost of being too reliable. When you are the only person who can do something, you become essential and stuck. Essential means you cannot be moved, promoted, or replaced. You are a bottleneck, not a leader. The most politically intelligent thing you can do is make your role replaceable. Document your processes. Train someone else. Share knowledge openly. When you are no longer the only person who knows how to do the critical thing, you become eligible for bigger things. This seems counterintuitive. If I share my knowledge, I lose my value. But the opposite is true. The person who creates systems that run without them is more valuable than the person who runs a system no one else understands. The collector and the narrator and the signal chaser all depend on being the sole source of information in their domain. That is how they control the narrative. Your move, be the person who makes the narrative impossible to control because too many people already know the truth. If you want to keep seeing how organizations really work, not how they say they work, hit subscribe. That's the only way to stay ahead of the patterns. Title: The meeting where your idea gets stolen isn't a glitch. It's the design titoli di reserva, 3 hidden patterns that decide who gets credit at work. Office politics isn't a flaw. It's the system. Here's how to read it. The narrative gap: why the person who frames the work gets promoted.